Right, so just to recap what we've done, we got out our chicken thigh, we cut it up nicely into little chunks. We've got that sitting in some milk and a little bit of salt and pepper. We've done the coleslaw, for lack of a better word. That's sitting in there. Now the next thing that we've got to do is, technically we've got to cook the chicken, which is why we've got that deep fryer over there to the side. But we've got this jar of chili that's been fermenting for a month. I do happen to have a new mully that I've just made. By made, I mean purchased. So what we've got here is a mully. Think of it as a wine press. Chuck that shit in there. Fantastic. Right, now, it's been a long time since I've used a mully, and I've also not taken the lid off this fermenting jar, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little bit worried about what's gonna come out. So what we're gonna do, I'm just gonna use this mully. I'm gonna sit it on the pot like this, like that. We're gonna take this jar of fermented chili. We're gonna dump it in the mully, and we're gonna press all of the liquid and all of the sauce, except for the seeds, through the mully into the pot. At that stage, we'll take the pot full of the chili, put it on the oven that I have over here, and we're going to add white vinegar to make a Tabasco. Now this is either going to work really, really, really well, or it's going to work really, 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 really poorly, and I'm honestly a little bit afraid. Alright, enough stalling. Oh, that's building up really. That's straight up mold. Must have snuck in when I was putting it in. You don't want mold in here, because mold will wreck your fermentation, according to a website that I read. Alright. Well, ain't nothing to it but to do it. I'm gonna need a scooper. Will that go through? There we go. Just my gloves. Yeah, so like I was saying earlier, I gotta stop saying like. In that scenario, the like is actually warranted. I mentioned earlier that fermentation happens when bacteria is in a mix, right? So in there, you've got lactobacilli. What happens is it breaks down sugar and it respires two different ways. When bugs break down products to eat, glucose, sucrose, and sugars, they respire one of two ways: aerobically and anaerobically. Aerobically, when you respire, you use the aerobic pathway when there's oxygen in there. They respire anaerobically when there's no oxygen in there. So what happens is, when they respire anaerobically, they produce carbon dioxide as a byproduct, and they produce ethanol, which is what beer and fermentation is, but that's a different story. So this little setup here has an airlock up the top here. So what happens is these bugs have cut off all the oxygen in here. They would have respired with all of the oxygen that was available in here until they ran out, and then they would have switched to anaerobic fermentation, which is fermentation there. So they're eating all the sugars, they're creating carbon dioxide, and they're shitting out a little bit of ethanol and carbon dioxide, breaking down all of the sugars that are found in the chili. So what happens is that carbon dioxide builds up and it builds up and it builds up. Now if you don't have one of these, which is an airlock, you will have what's sometimes known as exploding jars. This is exactly how it sounds. So if you don't have an airlock, some people like Kitty might know that you have to burp the jars that you're fermenting things in, and it's exactly as it sounds. You take the lid off, the carbon dioxide rushes out, air rushes in, and the process starts all over again. If you don't burp it, the pressure keeps building and then eventually it explodes. But with something like this, what happens is that there's a little airlock here where CO2 can get out, but oxygen can't get in because of the water. So it's a way to stop it from exploding. Alright, enough stalling. Let's get the lid off this bad boy and let's get it into this Morley. Honestly, a little bit worried. Okay, well it smells. And some of the mold's gotten onto the top of the mash, which is not what I wanted. Ooh, ooh, it smells hot. Ooh, it smells very hot. So we're going to try and scoop out a little bit of the mold, because I don't want it in my sauce. Here we go. This one will be a bit better. Okay, that's not too bad. We managed to get most of it off. Oh, that smells strong. Whew. Okay. Just gonna scrape some of this top layer off. Mainly because I'm not 100% sure if that top layer is meant to go into the product or not, and I'm just going to be a little bit more cautious. You know, it's my first time doing it. It's my first day. Whack, 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 whack. And so I just want to make sure that I do it properly. So we'll take off some of that top layer where there's a different kind of bug growing, and I'm not sure if it's one of the bugs we want or not. Okay, cool. So we scrape that top layer off. And now I've got to get it into the Morley without getting all of the shit up the sides there. Alrighty. So all the Morley is doing is stopping from the seeds from going in, but it's squeezing out the pulp and the juice and all that kind of stuff left behind. So in here, I don't know if you can tilt it, you can just see it, there's all the pulp, all the flesh, all the seeds. So the Morley is acting as a big wine press and separating those products. Now in this sauce here there was Carolina Reapers. Oh yeah, here we go. Now we're getting down to the good shit. So in this sauce there was Carolina Reapers, there was habaneros, there was bird's eye chilies, and then there was some lemon drop chilies as well. So I'll just bring it a bit closer to the camera for you to see. So like I said, you can see there's all the pulp and all the garbage on top and the seeds. Yeah, so the seeds, they bring heat. some of this other stuff down here. There's a lot of liquid up here that's getting pushed to the top. I can smell that fermentation. That's that tangy, it's that aromatic, it's that I forgot that I had an apple behind my toy box for 3 months smell. Alright, so probably a little bit too much of the, get some of this out now, some of those seeds out. Still a lot of moisture in here to extract, so I'm just gonna get some of that out. Oh yeah, there's still heaps in here. Just gotta get these seeds out so it can actually get through the pores. Now some people add a little bit of their seeds back into the mix. Like I said, the seeds are where the heat is. There's a little bit of heat from the chilies in the flesh, but most of it comes from the seeds. Now, by grinding these seeds aggressively against these little micro pores, there's definitely going to be some heat here. And the fact that, like I said, there's Carolina Reapers in here, there's habaneros. Like this is going to be spicy. This shit is going to be spicy. No doubt about it. So I'm just scooping out the dry pulp now, so if you can see it, it's just seeds now. All the flesh has been wrung out of it, and it's just seeds and bits of like pectin that can't be squished. But there's still moisture in here. I'm still extracting moisture. Well, you'll die if you try this sauce, Kitty, that's for sure. Like I said, I'm just getting rid of the seeds so it can make room for the other wet pulp. There's a whole bunch of wet pulp in here that I'm trying to get down into the thing, because that's good chili going to waste. Don't want that. Don't want that shit. Get in there. Get in there, boyos. Woo, that is some spicy sauce. Some spicy sauce. Sorry, this part isn't exactly the most riveting of cooking. So this is what your mum or your nana or your aunt would be doing with her homemade tomato sauce. If you've ever had a nan bring round some of that beautiful homemade tomato sauce, she'd be cooking up her tomatoes and then she'd be putting it through a moulie like this. Just like a mama used to make, eh? This is the part of the cooking show they don't tell you about. See, normally this stuff's done behind the scenes and they just go, and here's some I prepared earlier. Okay, let me just take this out. We'll check how we're going. Yeah, there's not much left. Stay there, please. Get rid of this garbage. Chuck that in here. There's still a little bit of wet pulp in here that we can use. I don't want to waste it, so I'll scrape it down into here. But yeah, we're nearly done with this portion of it. So the next bit after this is we're going to chuck it on the stove. We're going to heat it up a little bit. Because, and there's two reasons for this. One, because we want to make sure that a couple of little seeds are going to sneak in there. But that's okay. I'm actually okay with that. So we're putting it into this pot for two reasons. Oh fuck, there's chili on the, that's going to stain the tile. Shit. Get back in there. No! Alright, this is done. Done. Alright, we're gonna heat this up and we're gonna put it on the stove for two reasons. The first one is that whilst fermentation requires bugs and bacteria, long-term storage of your sauce, you don't want that. It's why cans get pasteurized, it's why milk gets pasteurized, it's why things get sterilized before they get put in cans. Because whilst fermentation is a form of storage, you know, eventually humans perfected the art of canning, and now you can have a can of soup that lasts longer than, you know, the average marriage. So we're going to heat the sauce up because you don't want it to continue to ferment while it's in the fridge. Because if it keeps doing that, it's going to explode whatever glass jar we put it in. And I don't want to have to deal with that. So fermentation jar empty. And in here now, we've got this beautiful, rich hot sauce. Look at this. Look at this. I don't know if you can see that. There's this rich, seed-free sauce. Just, oh, it's so hot. And then we're going to put some vinegar in there for that Tabasco feel. So we've got this sauce now. We're going to chuck it on the stove. And we just want a gentle heat. We just want a gentle heat. Because I don't want to burn the bottom of this. Because if we burn the bottom of this, we're going to taint it. Now earlier, something I actually prepared earlier. I've got some bottles here. So I've had these bottles in the oven for 20 minutes at about 110 degrees to sterilize them. And they're still hot. And here's a pro tip. When you sterilize your jars and then eventually you put your sauce in them, don't put them in the fridge right away. If you put them in the fridge right away, they will explode. Found that out the hard way. So we're going to put about 4 cups of vinegar in this sauce. So your Tabasco that you buy from the supermarket has vinegar in it and helps give it that acidity. So the recipe that I'm following is a strong word. The recipe that I am doing is 4 cups. I had a little bit less chili than the gentleman used in the recipe. So if he used 4 cups, I'm probably going to use about 3. 3, maybe 3.5. We'll do a taste test at 3, and then we can. And actually, and this is a real life pro tip when it comes to cooking, you can always add more. Oh fuck, that chili's hot. You can always add more of something. You can't add less of something. So less is more in more ways than one. Oh, that's so hot. Far out. Oh, there's Carolina Reapers. So like salts, like sugar, like stuff like that. Put it in a little bit, put in a little bit, put in a little bit, and then taste. And then when you get it right, you get it right. Because like I said, you can't put less salt in a dish. You can't put less sugar in a dish.